Hi, everyone, and welcome to our first guest joining us in our Guidebook Greenroom series about event planners. We're really excited today to have a returning guest in Jordan from Iowa State and his colleague Danielle. So, hi, both. How are you doing today?
Doing great.
Great.
It'd be great to kind of just get a little bit of a background as to your roles at Iowa State and yeah, just kind of get a sense of what you're doing.
Yeah, so my name is Jordan Baumgartner. I am the Assistant Director for Destination Iowa State in the Office of New Student Programs. And so our office is responsible for orientation and transition programming for new undergraduate students. Um, and so I provide a lot of the vision for one of our transition programs. And I'll turn it over to Danielle for her to talk about what she does.
Yeah, my name is Danielle Finezza. I'm the event coordinator in the Office of New Student Programs at Iowa State University, and I really touch all of our events that Jordan was talking about, from orientation to our transition program, Destination Iowa State, and help with a lot of the detail logistic works behind our events.
Jordan, it's great to have you back. Danielle, welcome to the Green Room. Hopefully, you'll be returning guest too someday. Um, with this event planning mini series that Nathan mentioned, we'll be hearing various perspectives from the event industry over the coming weeks. But I'm really, really excited to start with y'all today. I'm really excited to. I think new student programs is such an interesting place, and there are a lot of things that I think we will find in common across all events, and I think some things that might be unique to your perspective. So let's dig into it. I'd love to hear from both of you, but maybe we'll start with Danielle first. Um, as an event coordinator, you mentioned you're responsible for a multitude of events. Could you tell us a little bit more about the events that you manage? What are they all about? Who do you serve?
Yeah, so we have a wide range of events and new student programs that serve our incoming undergraduate students. And those can go from our biggest event, Destination Iowa State, our like welcome weekend transition program that serves 5,000 plus new students. So that entire, hopefully incoming class that's coming into Iowa State, to our orientation, our on-site orientation, in-person events. And those serve anywhere from 600 to 800 students and their guests and family members in one day. And then we have even smaller events that kind of serve our student leaders. So looking at our Cyclone Aid orientation leaders and our Destination Iowa State team leaders. And so those events can be just a couple hundred students.
That's a
That's cool.
lot. Sorry, Nathan. I'm just going to say, even your small events are huge. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, yeah, I was just going to jump in and say that's great. And it just kind of excited by the different types of events that you're organizing and how they kind of operate. And I'm curious to sort of both of you, when you think of the student events that you do run, like what excites you about those events? You know, whether it's like new ideas, what kind of keeps you kind of evolving those events and gets the team excited maybe as you're planning them or bringing them together?
Yeah, for me, it is their first time experiencing that oftentimes. It's their first time going through Destination Iowa State. It's their first time at college. It's their first orientation. Or it may be their first time as a team leader, or even if they're a returning team leader, how do we continue to engage them so that the learning still occurs? And so we always like to sit back and think about what are our goals? What are our um, expectations? What do we hope that they come away with that experience? And then we start working backwards into planning that event so that we can meet their goals, meet their expectations, and then after the event, evaluate that. We want to evaluate their experience, what they learn from those experiences, to improve upon the next year, to um, always evolve our events with the ever evolving student population.
Anything to add to that, Danielle?
Yeah, I mean, as Jordan mentioned, students are constantly changing. And so each event looks different. And even one orientation day from the next looks a little different based on the students that are present that day. And so just adapting and being able to serve different types of students and make sure that our events are meeting them where they're at and serving the needs that they're hoping to get out of them.
I love that. I want to dig into it a little bit. Across the different events, you have these different audiences, and each of them have something different that they want to get out of the experience. And then y'all also have your own goals internally of like what you want to deliver and kind of just what your responsibilities are in your positions. Could you tell me more about some of those challenges that you might face, and how do events help you address them?
I'll let you start, Danielle.
Oh, I was gonna let you start, Jordan. Jordan, you start. I had to think about this one if you have something off the top of your head.
Yeah. So, some of we like to talk about sneaky teacher goals. It's our like internal things of what we hope that they learn, but we don't put it out there of like, you will learn X, Y, and Z, right?
Hmm.
And so, sometimes that can be a fun aspect. I'll give a great example is we are trying a new team leader social model this year. In previous years, our team leaders have come in after they've been hired, and we kind of have like almost like a leadership workshop. And we usually have a guest speaker. They interact with their Cyclone Aid mentors and really get them set up for success for the summer. And then we see them back in August for Destination Iowa State. We realized that that's not what students wanted. That's not what students needed at this point in time. They wanted engagement. They wanted to kind of that active learning piece. And so our sneaky teacher goal is we want them to know A, B, C before they leave for the summer so that they're successful come August. One of those could be payroll. Another one could be the training modules that they need to complete in June and July. Okay, we've got those. So this time we did more of like a scavenger hunt resource fair that they're going around and interacting with different tables that cover all of those goals or those sneaky teacher goals. And we had our first one last night. It was wildly successful. We had returning team leaders, new team leaders that were verbalizing without prompting, like this was a fun experience. And I learned a lot from this by being able to engage and move around. And so it's learning that, hey, you know what, this is what students want at this point in time. And this is getting our goals out there, but it's also meeting their needs and wants and desires for the position and what they're going to do moving forward.
I love that. That's such a great story. And I love that it's fresh in your mind. I'm glad we caught you right in the middle
Right.
of event season. Danielle, anything kind of pique your interest that you wanted to add on?
Yeah, I think what I'll add on is that challenges come day of event too. And so you can do all of your best laid plans and have the contracts printed, have the layouts ready to go, and then come to the room and it's not set up the way you want it, or the food's not there on time and things like that. And so from the event coordinator side of things, just being flexible and adaptable day of events and knowing what you want things to look like, but being ready to kind of change and adapt and know where you can get support to update things day of.
Do you think about that in your planning stage around contingency planning or kind of using maybe past experiences when things haven't quite gone to plan to kind of plan ahead and think, okay, if this happens, we might be able to do X, Y, or Z or anything like that? Do you sort of bring that into your planning cycle?
Yeah, we definitely build that into events, and we kind of come early and start early and have room checks and are going around the building and making sure that our events are set up the way we like them and trying to get ahead so then students and our guests are not showing up to a room that's not set up or a room where the technology isn't ready to go or the catering isn't out. And so we kind of build that into our like staff planning on the back end of things and make sure that we're there an hour early or even earlier. We like to promote a soft open and be ready to go like half an hour before we say on the schedule that the event starts. And so we build that into kind of our planning and our schedule to make sure that any little hiccups or things are taken care of well before the guest would show up and even realize or know that.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of a soft opening and just building yourself a little space just to kind of iron out any problems if they do come up. You kind of mentioned earlier, in your planning cycle, you sort of have the evaluation piece as well, and you are trying lots of new things and organizing lots of different types of events. And I'm just curious for either all of your events or some events in particular that might spring to mind. How do you measure the success of those? How do you know, truly what's worked, what you might want to do again, and also what hasn't worked, and how do you kind of evaluate when to change things up or what to kind of do differently?
Yeah. So we do some formal evaluations through, any form software that you want to use. And so we do some of that evaluation pieces. But then a lot of our evaluation is how are folks engaging? How are folks interacting? Um, as well as those like qualitative pieces that they just I'll call them like quips or things like that they just add to it of this was awesome, this was great. Or we, are walking down the hallway the day after and you hear students talking about the event that they attended the night before. Or I even think about like Destination Iowa State, where we have students that say like, I met my best friend who I'm now their maid of honor in their wedding. And it wouldn't have been for Destination Iowa State, I wouldn't have met them, right? And so some of our goals are that they're connecting with others on campus through those things. And so, sometimes it's not just right then and there you get that information. Sometimes it's years later that you're finding out like that made an impact on their development, that made an impact on their experience, and it really promoted, what we hope for, at least in one of those learning outcomes that we've developed.
That's incredible. I think like those kinds of success metrics that we try to capture immediately, sure, those can be great and they can maybe real time inform some changes. But thinking about the long-term impact, going back to what I said at the top of the call, I think there's something special about higher ed and like the nature of your events because your audiences and your goals are there. It's so personal, right? It's about identity. It's about that community building piece. You are impacting people's lives in a not cheesy way. So
Yeah.
I love hearing you talk about it. I think it's really, really, really important. Anything else you wanted to ask, Nathan?
I think my final question before we wrap up, it's just I always like to see top tip. Do you have a top tip for any other event planner? Maybe not just in, the same industry or space as you, just something that, really sits in your mind when you think about planning or beginning the planning stage of an event.
I think for me, it would be that adaptability piece that I talked a little bit about earlier, and just being, as much as I spend most of my days like planning our events and getting those like fine details ready to go, something can change day of, or we might need to adapt, and students may be reacting to an event we've done for years differently now and might be looking for something more engaging, like we touched on with our team leader social. And so being able to adapt and reinvent the wheel and be willing to do that is a huge piece of event planning.
I think one of my favorite tips is be present throughout the entire event, and not start tearing down until folks have left, right? And so oftentimes I see folks that will, oh, the resource fair ends at, let's say, 9 o'clock. At 8:55, they start gathering their materials or things like that, and they start tearing down. Well, there might still be somebody that wants to talk to you, or there might be somebody that's coming in just a little bit late. You don't know what's going on. And so if they see that like it really didn't go till 9, it was really till 8:55, it feels a little bit different for them. And so, build yourself time afterwards that like the last folks are there at 9, but then you're tearing down at 9:05 to ensure that they get the full experience that you're intending for them to have.
Yeah, I love that. I love both of those. Good tips for sure. I think especially you're so right. I've been to events where people are kind of eager to get away and they just start tearing down because their assumption is the event's kind of coming to a close and people are going to head off home. Yeah, and they could miss an opportunity. So I think that's a great piece of advice, especially for anyone that even sponsors or, attends events like that, be there to the end and seize the opportunity for sure. Well, amazing. Firstly, thanks for Jordan again coming back and Danielle for joining us for the first time. This was our first in our event planner series, so we do appreciate you being the first on. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed the episode. And If you do want to reach out to Jordan or Danielle, I'm sure you can find them on LinkedIn and connect if you want to. But otherwise, again, thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing everyone on our next episode of our Guidebook Green Room Event Planner series.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.